Welcome back to a new segment we are introducing in light of this being the first recording of a noise podcast since the most recent SRC meeting, which went for 3 hours and took about 3 years off my life. We are going to count back the top 5 quotable quotes from Monday's SRC meeting. Alice, who is next to me, is our lovely curator for this. Why don't we just jump in, Alice?
Sure thing. So it's my debut on the podcast. I am sort of Noise's de facto SRC correspondent. And I got to say, taking 3 years off your life, I feel like is a bit of an understatement. I think it took off 30. This was exactly what people warned me about when I started doing the coverage. The last 2 meetings that I've reported on have been fairly tame. But boy, this was an interesting one. So alongside the coverage, which you can read all 1,500 words of it on the website.
This has sort of become our de facto SRC coverage week, which we didn't expect, but then so much shit happened. We just like, okay, everything has to get parked to the side, I guess. Enjoy.
Yeah, there was a lot happening. But alongside that, we thought that we'll have a bit of levity in our reporting. And I compiled a list of my favourite quotes that I recorded from our SRC meeting.
We are also joined by Ren today, our de facto nerd. Noise's resident nerd. Hello, Ren. Ren crunches basically all the numbers for election coverage at UNSW. Hi, Ren. Good to have you here.
Yeah. So Ren's going to help me out with my quotes. So the first quote of the night, this is probably number 5, was actually pretty close towards the end of the night. We had just finished our break and we were waiting for everyone to come back online when Michael, the president of the SRC, said something that just was the perfect storm of coincidence and really bad timing. As we were getting ready, Michael says, so we're going to recommence the meeting once 9/11 hits. Which I feel like I don't have to explain why this was hilarious.
Ever the eloquent leadership spokesperson here at UNSW, Michael Rame, he, so for context, they had just gone on break, right?
Yes.
Meeting starts at 6:30, it gets to like 9 o'clock, and someone goes, can we please take a break?
Yes,
from the
I
shouting
believe
matches?
that Pepsi moved a procedural to just like, can we have a 15-minute break? We've all been here
Right.
for a while.
Formally requested a break, not just like, can we take a break? It was like there was a whole formal process behind it, and the break ended up lasting until 9:11 p.m. And Michael, with the beautiful choice of words, says, "We will come back when 9/11 hits." Which did anyone react to that in the meeting?
I think it was just me losing my mind on the Noise group chat. There's about 8 messages immediately after it happened saying, I swear to God, Michael, the president of the SRC, did not just say once 9/11 hits on this meeting. Other than that, it was I don't think there was much of a reaction, probably because most people were still on mute at that point.
And we're really tired.
We'd been going for like 2.5 hours, so I can't exactly blame him for that wonderful bit of dialogue, but it was very funny. Our second quote, fourth place quote of the night is also not from Michael, but it is regarding Michael. During I believe it was the counting for our very contentious motion of the evening, which was Paige Sedgwick's motion to change the voting week from, I believe it's normally week 5.
It's normally week 4. So
Normally week 4 to Flexi Week. We've got 3 articles up about this if you want to know more information.
yeah, if you listen to this podcast, you'll know about this by now.
Yeah, it was pretty divisive. But the counting of this was really the highlight of the night because there was a lot of debate surrounding it. And during this process, it took about 10 minutes to count the votes, if I remember correctly. More than that. And it was pretty much radio silence from Paige and Michael, who were counting the votes during such time.
Let's be clear. It is Paige as General Secretary that is responsible for counting the votes, and we have an SRC, 25 people who could vote were in attendance, and so it's like, you're right. Left in the dark was kind of the way to describe it, because everyone was just wondering like what is taking 10 minutes plus.
Yes, the FLC uses their Microsoft Teams like polling to vote, so it's always very confusing to think like, why is it taking 10 minutes to tabulate these votes? They should be right on your screen. So,
and Ren, it's also against regulation to publish who voted what.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is contentious in itself. A lot of we are getting growing calls from the SRC to change that rule, particularly from the left action side of politics. But yeah, we're on to number 4.
We were on to number 4. So during this sort of radio silence, and while people were shouting at Revive for potentially calling people on their ticket to change their vote, and all of these accusations of trying to rig this this poll, the chat for the Microsoft Teams was absolutely blowing up with messages of where is Michael. Michael was missing. People did not know where Michael was.
Michael
left the meeting, and everyone was freaking out because they didn't know where Michael was. So our 4th quote of the night was when Michael finally returned, was just, "Where's Michael? Michael's in the bathroom." It was just sort of the perfect, again, another fantastic moment from Michael of sort of trying to find a way through the chaos that was this meeting in the most civil way possible, and really just being met with nothing but hostility.
It was a little bit worrying at first when the president had just disappeared from the meeting and like without explanation, and then it was like 2 minutes, but it was like, yep, Michael was away. Michael referring to himself in the third person for some reason.
I mean, especially just before the accusation, just before that, asking like, is Paige calling people on the ticket right now to confirm their votes? Was basically the implication.
Spoilers, Ren, but yes, this was in the context of people questioning the integrity of the vote count. Again, basically people in roundabout ways, in various ways, asking why it took 10 minutes to count to 25. Yeah,
Paige had quite a lot of difficulties with the vote counting, not in this meeting alone, but in a lot of the meetings that I've seen so far. Our 3rd quote of the evening is also regarding the counting of votes. This was one of I think it was the final motion of the night. So at this point, people were very tired. We all wanted to go home. I was already at home, and I still wanted to go home. And as Paige was getting ready, checking that everyone had put in their votes, because people had been yelling at her for the last 3 hours that she was closing the polls before they had voted.
Basically just trying to make sure that everyone had voted before she closes off the ability to vote. And she says,
no one's screaming and shouting, so I'm going to close it. Which I really feel is just the perfect encapsulation of this SRC meeting.
That's the perfect encapsulation of the SRC.
Yeah, it was pretty much the one moment of true silence that we got for the entire meeting, was while everyone had their microphones off, they were just discussing between themselves. And Paige was, to her credit, trying to do the due diligence of making sure everyone had their votes in.
Mind you, the one period of silence, except for the 10 minutes where we were counting votes in another motion.
That is true, but that was silence from Revive specifically. I will say Left Action was not very silent during those 10 minutes. Left Action was not very silent throughout most of the meeting. Second quote of the night was very early on, and my God, was it magical. So in yet another attempt, actually the first attempt of the evening, by Michael to try and mediate the, let's just say, warring factions of UNSW student politics.
That's not in any way false to say. They are
at war.
They're in a very nonchalant war, in that they don't want to have to deal with each other, and they kind of begrudgingly deal with each other for their own sake of it.
Yeah, it's sort of like a pot that will not quite boil over, but is pretty close to doing so.
It's boiled over, Alice. Just you wait.
Well, that's ominous. So our second quote of the night, in Michael's attempt to sort of help out with the mistrust that was circulating around Page counting the votes for the aforementioned controversial Flexi Week election motion. Michael offered to help count the votes as an impartial third party, to which...
Yeah, so for context, this is the very start of the meeting. Basically, the first thing the Left Action side did in the meeting was say that Paige had a conflict of interest to her normal responsibility of counting the votes because she herself had submitted 3 of the motions. And they basically said, well, how do we know you're not rigging the vote in some way because you're
I do believe that they did actually say that she was trying to rig the election. They did explicitly say that. So.
I don't remember if they explicitly accused her or just said like you have the remit.
No, they said you're trying to rig the election is what I've written down as a quote.
So basically Left Action didn't want Paige, the kind of standard bearer of the rival faction, to be the one counting the votes, and so Michael, as the president, offers to do a separate count himself.
To which Gina very, very angrily declares, "You are part of the same faction, Michael," which, as the first sort of bit of outright back and forth yelling from the meeting, really caught myself and a lot of others off guard. Because, Michael, he was doing his best. And yes, he is part of Revive, but he did in fact abstain from the motion. So, at least from my perspective, could be trusted to count as an impartial party. But this was really just a magical example of factions really not trusting each other.
Michael does in his mediation role, but in his role as president, very much focus on like mediating the two factions, and never really joins the rhetoric of one or the other. So this was sort of an extension to that, and I wouldn't call it out of character for Michael. But then the Left Action side did also have a point that yes, Michael ran with Page's faction, and that might be an extension of the conflict of interest.
Yeah. Left Action wasn't the only people with complaints about their, I suppose you would say, rival party in this meeting. There are a number of just fantastic quotes from the debate around the election week vote. However, there's simply too many of those to rank. So my personal favourite from both this debate and from the meeting as a whole comes from our very own Paige and our very own Michael. Two people who, throughout most of the meeting, maintained a pretty strong level of decorum in the face of quite a lot of very vocal protests from the other side. This was just an excellent example of them, specifically Paige, not being decorous. It's not a word. In that, do you want to help me read this one out, Ren?
Yeah. Thank you for attending an O-Week stall.
That's not necessary. This was really just sort of the icing on the cake of this very quite passive-aggressive back and forth between Left Action and Revive, where Left Action was accusing Revive of rigging the votes, and Revive was accusing Left Action of being very non-transparent in their policymaking, which they found ironic given the topic of the debate. And Paige made a lot of comments about the fact that Left Action hadn't been attending O-Week stalls or engaging with the election process in any sort of traditional manner. And so as we're wrapping up, as we're moving into the counting of the votes, Paige just slings this one out there and Michael immediately shoots it down.
So I actually don't have very much recollection of this. It was during the Flexi Week motion.
It was during the Flexi Week motion.
Which means I missed it because I was like frantically writing down as many notes as I could possibly.
They were all just talking over each other at that point. Like, we were all just struggling to keep up within our notes, trying to make sure that you guys had got to see at least a little bit of what was happening in this meeting.
We basically had 5 people writing notes at once.
Yeah.
Which I think is part of the magic of this quote for me, in that no one really realized, but it really caught me off guard, and it was really just enjoyable to watch.
And looking back on it, it is really emblematic of the SRC in the same way that this motion was just emblematic of the way the SRC works at the moment, fortunately and unfortunately.
Yeah, I think as a whole, these 5 quotes really sort of exemplify, I would say, the three main tenets of the SRC, which is that left action hates Revive, Revive hates left action, and Michael is just stuck in the middle of all of it.
Why did Paige say that? Say thank you for attending an O-Week stall.
So Paige had been complaining for the past couple of minutes that left action had been, that their interest in transparency was surprising. That's a almost direct quote, because they hadn't been previously engaging in the democratic process in a traditional sense. And part of that involved the fact that they hadn't been attending O-Week stalls as left action. A lot of their members had been attending O-Week stalls as Socialist Alternative, which is not a endorsed political ticket or an endorsed political ticket in SRC or just in general. So I've found the context behind this, the full context. So during this part of the debate, we had a very unconventional 7 speakers for and against who both had a minute and a half to basically make their case.
That was a whole thing in itself. It's usually only, I don't remember if it's 1 or 2 for and against each that usually does it, but 7 is like a massive extension that Michael agreed to as president because it was clearly a lot of people wanted to speak on this. We often don't get 14 people attending an SRC meeting. This time we had 14 people speaking on one motion of the 7 that were there. Like, why do you think this went for 3 hours?
And this was actually reduced from the original request was for unlimited speaking for unlimited speakers. I believe we will be there all night.
It would never have ended. We would still be at the meeting if that was allowed.
Yes, it was. Thankfully, the indefinite speaking period was shot down, and Michael approved 7 per party, basically.
Per side, yeah.
Per side. I will say the 4 members didn't actually use all of their speaking time, and a lot of it ended up being reallocated to the against members, who really just did not like this motion, and the members who were for the proposal really didn't have much to say in response. Paige did have a response. She had the final right of response for the evening as the person who proposed the motion, and it was in this right of response that her that our number 1 quote came through. So she said that the sudden passion for transparency from Left Action was curious, as they had not been showing up to O-Week to engage with their students, and that their concerns had nothing to do with the actual motion, as students can already campaign remotely, and that if Left Action actually cared about their students, they would come out more than once a year for elections, in which the final quote was said, "Thank you for coming to O-Week stall, that's not necessary."
So Paige doesn't usually like to engage Salt like that.
Yeah, throughout the whole meeting, Paige showed a lot of restraint, and she really didn't respond to pretty much anything that was coming from the faction. She did make some comments about how there were parts of the charter which Left Action disagreed with. That was in regards to the voting rights of to students with disabilities officers, as well as the provisions for the aforementioned unlimited speaking time.
And to give you an idea of like how much history this rivalry has, I think back to when I was at SRC meetings last year when Paige was president, and there were motions put forward by Socialist Alternative that was specifically to condemn Paige. Like, they really don't like her, and they would submit those motions. Someone like Cherish Kuhlman or Gianna Elias would speak in favor of the motion to open the debate and say, this is why Paige is a shithead. And then Paige would say, okay, would anyone like to respond to that? I always found that really funny. But to give you an idea of like how fervent this has got in this meeting, the Paige is actually responding to them and jabbing at them. And even then Michael having to restrain her. That's...
I love the imagery of restraint as though Michael just tackled her to the ground. It was all online. Michael did just sort of cut her off.
It was a verbal tackle to the ground on all sides from Michael. That's basically Michael's job as president, is to verbally tackle people.
Yeah, so there was a moment earlier on in the meeting where Paige said that she wasn't going to be changing the regulations just because Left Action didn't like them. There was also a bit from the other side where someone from, I believe it was, I'm not sure who it was, someone from Left Action accused Paige of running a dictatorship of the SRC, which is very funny given the debate was just around her counting the votes, which is within her role. Yeah, it was very interesting for me when I was writing our beginner's guide. I was taking a look at the breakdown between the two different tickets, including our independent factions and our NLS members. The way that meetings are conducted, you would really think that Left Action has more members in the SRC than they actually do, but they do just fill their room with non-members who support their side, which it makes sense why people who aren't part of that faction don't really want to be in that space, because it transforms it from an actual political debate between the elected members to a bit of a dog pile.
If you see some of the shit that happens at Sydney Uni, you'll be thankful you go to UNSW, because like dogpile doesn't even describe it. Like just shouting and yelling and screaming to the point where you can't hear anyone.
I will say, I'm very glad that I attend UNSW instead of USyd for a variety of reasons. But number one is that I would never do the SRC coverage at USyd.
They don't offer my major at USyd, so I'm stuck here.
They just didn't let me in.
Oh.
So, yes, that is our top quotes of the night, along with a few, honorary quotes from the surrounding debate. I will say it was very... enjoyable's not the right word. It was very interesting to watch this proceeding, especially given the previous ones that I'd been sitting in on. But
it was a valuable learning experience.
I definitely learnt something. Yeah. And I think Michael's description that the meeting was run in a very creative way. Yeah. That was pretty much the final comment of the entire meeting, was just very creatively run. I have to agree with that statement.
Whatever you think of Michael, you've got to be impressed by his patience.
He is endlessly patient. I will say, Michael, if for any reason you're listening to this podcast, I'm sorry I keep taking the piss out of you in my articles, but it is just really funny to watch you try and make a genuine attempt at mediation and making sure the meetings run productively, to just be constantly shot down by not only members from Left Action, but also members from your own ticket. It's really magical, but you're doing a great job with what you can.
I think we'll end the segment there.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Silly Hour. Mia and Dia. One thing you guys have not been able to shut up about this week, other than Perfect Match Season 2, which you have been driving me insane with that, Dia, but...
Alex hates reality TV, and I think that's one of the saddest things.
My goal in our friendship is to get Alex Neil invest in reality TV. We already have active plans that I cannot disclose for legal reasons. How to get Alex Neil into reality TV.
They're going to kidnap me and force me to watch reality
Allegedly.
TV. You're going to do it.
In Minecraft.
I'm defaming you here.
But for those interested, it is Micah's season of Love is Blind that I'm trying to use as this.
I haven't seen it, but I do know who Micah is because of Perfect Match. I just need to know what the fuck that girl did on Love is
Michael
Blind.
was so normal on Perfect Match.
That's not what we agreed to talk about.
Sorry guys, this is like not the topic at all. Alex, continue.
The other thing you haven't shut up about are your weird, irrational fears.
Yeah.
Why has that been an
Okay,
interest?
my thing is I have like a big fear that like everybody in my like immediate family makes fun of me for because it's so irrational, and then I just have other like random fears.
What I said to Dia when we agreed to speak about this week was that I have some fears that are like too crazy kooky, I'm on meds for this to be spoken about, and other things that are just tee hee ha ha, like really fucking
there
stupid,
had to
right?
be some very extensive affirmative consent conversations before this segment, and I'm not even joking about that. Like we had...
Life is good.
The secret ingredient is trauma.
Yeah, a little bit. But also we do have some like really hilarious fears too, as do you. So we've kind of got a lot to say this week.
Yes, you do.
Okay, I'm just gonna start by
Yeah, go
ripping
for
the
it.
Band-Aid off. This is my irrational fear to the point where it genuinely like changes the way I interact with the world. I have a crippling fear of 99% of birds.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's like I will cross the road if I see a bird on one side of the road.
How close does a bird have to be to you for you to be like, no, I'm out?
Not even that close. Like, I will give way to pigeons.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, you fucking march on along, just do not, like... do
Dia,
this.
I need you to know that you are like every environmentalist's dream.
No, like, I'm like, don't... Like, they make me
What's the
uncomfortable.
bird that wouldn't freak you out?
Okay, here's
Like
the
when
thing.
you say 99%, has there ever been a time where you've been okay?
You know, like the tiny little brown birds. I don't know what they're called.
Oh, like
the little round ones.
like a sparrow?
Yeah,
Or like
probably.
a willy wagtail?
The Indian miners.
What about Indian miners?
That's what. That's the
what
name
they're
of the
called.
birds.
That's
The
a
really
terrible name.
squawky ones. It's because they migrated here from there.
And they're under 18.
I mean, sure.
Maybe.
I think
sure
the
they
key
don't
issue
live to
there
18
is that they're animals, dear.
But like, why are they called Indian miners?
I thought, no, because we also have native Australian miners.
Yeah. The noisy miners.
The noisy miners. Whereas the Indian ones are very quiet. Yeah, go on.
Okay, I am not scared of sparrows in the sense of like, if one comes up to me, I will not give way to it. However, I am still so scared of the like surprise element of birds just showing up out of nowhere that I will, like, my heart will stop if even like a sparrow just comes out of nowhere.
Can I tell you guys a little story about what happened to me? And I will say that I think that like yesterday, and this happened yesterday.
What did a sparrow do to you?
No, it wasn't a sparrow. An ibis stole half my lunch yesterday.
What?
And the way that my friend described it was it molested my lunch.
What?
Like it actually ran across one side of the bench to the other where I was sitting and stole my sushi roll. So aggressively. From my little basket. So
Did you
aggressively.
have like, your basket open next to you? And you like...
No, it was like, so we were sitting on the table like here, and my sushi roll was like next to me, pointing out that way. The ibis was on like a side of the bench a little bit further away, and it came running towards, stole it, and ran away with it. And I screamed, and I actually, because of that, I completely understand your fear.
Terrifying.
This is why people think they're robots.
No, they're terrifying.
They're so scary, and this bitch was hanging around,
And also,
eating it in front of me like a scoundrel.
Can I say something that always shocks people when I mention this fact? We don't have bin chickens in Melbourne.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. We don't have bin chickens in Melbourne. It's a Sydney thing. To the point where when my brother came here, he was like, no, you weren't joking. They're actually everywhere. And I'm like, yeah. Because in Melbourne, the only place that I've seen bin chickens in Melbourne is at the Melbourne Zoo. And not like they're behind...
You have ibises in
they're not in an
zoos?
enclosure. They're not in an enclosure.
So exotic.
Sorry.
No, they're not in an enclosure. But they just like wander around the Melbourne Zoo. And like, I was terrified of them,
That's
obviously.
crazy.
But also the other formative thing that really traumatized me as a kid was like, as somebody who has like a fear of birds, is at the Melbourne Zoo, there are enclosures for the emus back when I first moved to Australia in like 2011, were not like proper enclosures. So the emus would just walk around the like section of the zoo. And I like was having like crying fits in the zoo, not able to like
Can
leave the
I
bathroom.
also say that on my list of fears is cassowaries?
Fuck them. Fuck them.
I don't blame you for that.
I am really scared of cassowaries, mostly because I've heard so many like things of how aggressive they are. I've seen them in the wild before, like fully the wild. They're really fucking scary.
Fuck them.
You just gotta see their claws.
They're
No,
also
absolutely.
the deadliest bird.
The thing is, like, I don't have a fear of birds at all. I totally get what you mean, specifically because of cassowaries.
Cassowaries shouldn't be classified as birds.
No,
they
they're
should
like
be classified as dinosaurs and terrors
Yeah.
of the
You know
night.
how they say that like birds and like chickens specifically? Oh, side note, I'm scared of chickens. That's my other thing. Chickens are terrifying to me.
Really?
Yeah, chickens and ducks. Like when
Even when they're
I
dead?
love dogs.
when I mention my
What
like
about swans? I mean, swans are really.
no, swans are terrifying. My thing is,
Is this going to be the entire episode talking about how much we all hate birds?
I guess so.
but my thing is, okay. Whenever I'm like, I'm so scared of birds, I like fuck the bin chickens, fuck the emus. Everyone's like, so true. And then I'm like, but like also like fuck pigeons, fuck ducks, fuck chickens. Then people start laughing at me.
No.
Like I'm not kidding. It is an overwhelming fear that like controls the way I interact with the world. Like I will not walk under trees because I'm scared the birds are in the trees.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I actually used to be the same level of fear with dogs.
Huh.
Because when I was 2 years old, my mum was like taking me home and stopped off at the bottle shop, and the owner of the bottle shop like had a dog. I think it was like a German Shepherd, and I was only 2 years old, but I still remember it because this dog, which was bigger than me at the time, like tried to get into my pram. And it was
To be
just
fair with
saying.
you, when I was little, I was also really scared of dogs, but just because they were bigger than me and barking.
Well, I thought it was attacking me.
Yeah, fair enough.
And it was just saying hi, but this big mangy thing that I'd basically never seen before was trying to get into my pram, and I hated it.
I get that.
And I was literally, I would like shrink away from dogs exactly like you until I was like 12 years old.
Yeah, when I was little, my dad would take me to go and visit my godparents, and they had a beautiful, like, very big old dog called Essie. And Essie, when she was younger, was very, very loud and very liked to run around. But she was also probably twice my height when I was little. And I would like scream, cry until my dad picked me up because of like how terrified I was of this slobbering dog. He would slobber on me. I was like, fuck you, bro. This is not cool.
My thing is I have the opposite problem, which is I love dogs, and like since I was a kid, like I've been around, like I had really close family friends with like 2 big German Shepherds when I was a small child that I used to like love going to their house and seeing the German Shepherds. I have the opposite thing where I'm not scared of animals bigger than me, like bears. Like I still cannot perceive the danger of a bear because they're so cute. They're like giant
Seriously?
puppies. Yeah, they're like giant little puppies.
You are not winning the man or bear war.
No, they're so cute. Bears are so cute. Like I love watching videos of bears being goofy and shit. Like, but chickens terrifying. Bears, they're just little guys.
This is so bad for your brand.
I love bears. I am so sad that we as a human race have not had the foresight to domesticate bears 100 years ago.
Yeah, and
So that
cassowaries
now
have such
we-
pretty little feathers.
Yeah, because like now we have dogs because we like domesticated them like centuries and centuries ago, so now they're like household pets. We did not have the foresight to do that with bears because they're so cute, and I would love a bear to be like have good temperament enough to like have.
I actually agree. with
Dear,
that
you're
one,
scary. We are going to spend this whole entire episode speaking about birds and animals and shit and not the rest about. Alex, do you want to tell us about your fear, specifically animal-related fear?
Oh yeah, I can't stand wasps.
Oh, that's so fair.
A wasp?
Like, and hornets by extension, even though
Yeah.
it's not for the
What
same.
about bees?
Bees I'm fine with. It's because I watched the movie Alien
I thought
too
you said
young.
the bee movie. I thought you were gonna say I was scared of
Well,
bees and
you
wasps.
wouldn't end up scared of bees, you'd end up scared of Jerry Seinfeld.
I'd end up scared of the horrors of capitalism, which honestly fair.
I thought you were gonna say I was scared of bees and wasps, and then I watched the bee movie, and I was like, never mind, I'm just scared of wasps.
That's so funny.
No, I watched the movie Alien,
That's so fair.
and then I watched like a David Attenborough documentary about wasps, and I was like, oh, the wasps are doing the same thing that the alien does. Oh, that's real? That's not a fiction? And then I haven't been able to stand them ever since.
Wow.
Like I was once half an hour late for school because there was a wasp on my path just outside my house, and I literally had to stay still until the wasp left. I couldn't
That's me and birds.
like not
That's
just
mad,
not
you
continue.
guys.
I literally froze.
That's actually me and huntsman spiders. Like, I really like spiders. I don't have much of an issue with spiders.
what
But I see a huntsman
huntsman?
spider because they're hairy and
they're like
big and
the
gross.
most
My
common
cat,
and the least
you know
harmful.
what? My fucking cat eats them in front of me. He will sit down and eat them, and I'll just find a leg on the floor, and I'm
My thing
like,
is,
good job,
like,
buddy.
That's very cute.
No, it's gross.
Really not
Cute.
afraid of spiders, and I'm mildly not scared of snakes.
Oh, I'm not scared of snakes. I love reptiles.
Like my thing is, no, I'm mildly not afraid of snakes. I'm very much not scared of spiders. Like the deadliest biggest spider could like be in proximity to me, and I'd be like, hey, girly. But chickens, fuck them.
This is crazy. Are we going to talk about any other fears today, or just talk about the animals?
You haven't talked about your fears.
Yeah, what's your
Well, I've talked about my cassowaries, but I'll run you a little bit through my list. So my first weird fear is carpal tunnel.
That's fair.
And the reason I'm scared of this is because, like, I do a lot of baking. I like to sew. Like, a lot of the things I do, I need my hands for. The other two, like, kind of chill fears are mouth breathing or, like, mouth breathers. I hate that. It scares me so much.
Like literal mouth breathers.
Yeah. Like, people that breathe, like, actually people that mouth breathe.
You must hate snorkeling.
No, I don't have an issue with snorkeling. I love snorkeling. I've done a lot. But I, like, if you walk around... No, because have you guys seen those posters of, like, people that mouth breathe versus who doesn't and the jaw structure?
It just sounds like you're being mean.
I'm not even kidding. No. It's an actual thing. It, like, completely changes your facial structure. I am so scared of being a mouth breather because of how much it fucks up your, like, nose and your, like, passages and then also your, like, jawline and, like, your actual jaw muscles and shit. I already have TMJ problems. Like, please help me. Maybe this is less irrational. You guys look scared too.
It's just random.
No, yeah, this is weird.
No, I'm just scared of it. My other fear is rice. specifically
Rice?
Yeah, okay, no, listen to me. I eat rice a lot. I love rice.
Why are you scared of it?
Have you ever had to do a food safety course, my friend?
Couple?
Rice is terrifying. Like the amount of people that just fucking die from eating like rice or pasta that they've left out just like 2 seconds too long. And oh no, there's bacteria in it now. You can't eat that anymore. I'm so scared of rice. I'm literally so scared of it.
So you're
cry
scared of
about rice.
botulism?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's
No,
not. That's not.
No, but I'm specifically scared of like, because I will like, I studying immunology and then also like working in food is such a hellhole because I am scared of every food ever. I can't eat anything if it even looks even slightly like fuck around. I'm like, no. I get really scared of so much shit. It's really bad. I can't eat anything anymore.
This is no longer a fear I have, but I had really, really bad health anxiety for a chunk of time. And one of my fears during that time was rabies. Like, I was just so scared that I got bit by something and I never realized it. And then I would die 2 weeks later of rabies and I would go out in like with a foaming mouth and just never realize it. Because the thing with rabies is if you know something's bit you and then you get your rabies shot, you're fine. But there's like a 1 week window. And if you don't get a shot within the 1 week window, you'll just die of rabies. Yeah.
So it's like the ring kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have to palm it off in like a week.
Here's one of my fears, which, okay, we can discuss this and it's going to be so long.
Oh god. This is so...
No. Okay, this is why. Because I have announced
This
to
was
you...
meant to be 5 minutes
This
long.
has actually been... You know how you said that we've discussed our fears this week in Perfect Match Season 2? I'd argue we've discussed this more this week for something that is one of my fears.
Go on.
Marriage.
True.
Did you not
Yes,
just
I
say
did.
You were
But-
ready to
okay,
get
okay,
married?
Guys, listen to me. It is 3 a.m. Dia is in my DMs. Dia in my DMs says, girl, I'm ready to get married. I say, what the fuck, Dia? Dia says, no, I'm ready. I'm like, what do you mean? You're like 20. And then Dia goes on to say, but I want to be someone's fiance. I say, well, do you want to be their wife? She goes, I don't need to be their wife. Calling off a marriage will fulfill me in the same way that getting married would. I'm like, you are such a nightmare. We have spoken about this at length since. I'm really scared of that for you.
Okay, so what? Not my. Okay, the reason that I'm like, guys, marriage is because I'm trying to demystify it. Because my actual fear is something that, if you know my track record, is very likely, which is marrying somebody. You're like, this is the love of my life. We're getting married now. It's a big deal. And then after you get married, they end up being a piece of shit. Like the whole Risa Teesa's who the after
What did I marry?
Yeah.
You mean, like,
I've heard all of it.
Drama, because
I have not.
Oh, this is a later conversation.
Okay, this is a later silly hour, I guess. But yeah, it's one of my biggest fears to be in a perfect relationship and then you get the ring and then all of a sudden they're like an abusive, cheating piece of shit.
I totally get that.
Okay.
The other thing is also, like, you keep on saying that you just, like, want the delusion of someone that will commit to you.
Yeah.
Just find someone that's not delusional about it, who will actually commit to you.
Okay, let's be realistic, okay? I know it's silly hour, but we're getting a bit too silly on silly hour.
Dear.
Okay.
You are worthy of love.
The other thing, okay, and this is connected to the marriage one, but even more so, like, this is like a fear to the point where I genuinely don't think this is going to be a thing in my life because of this. Pregnancy.
Yeah, I'm scared of that too.
It is body horror to me.
Yeah, same.
Like the complications during it, the fact that like it tears you physically.
You know the girl with the list?
Yeah. Then children themselves.
I don't.
Okay, there is a girl on TikTok with a list of like all of the things that can possibly happen during pregnancy or with a child. The list is long.
Yeah.
Like every time she sees a video on TikTok of some kid who's like done something insane, she will put it on the list of like reasons I don't want to be pregnant.
Humans genuinely have the worst designed skeletons of any animal.
Completely, yeah.
Like you see like a giraffe or a cow and it just kind of slips out of them
Also,
in 2
consider
seconds.
the fact that we should technically be pregnant for 21 months if we want to like have the child come out of the womb fully functioning the way that most mammals do. Like
Yeah.
you know how most like giraffes can get up and walk a couple seconds later and they're chilling.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't do that, and we are like fledglings for quite a long time. The reason is because we don't have enough space in our body to keep it for 21 months. It has to come out at 9 because otherwise
We don't have enough space in our body to keep it for 9 months.
Terrifying.
But like we're getting there, you know. It's like the latest they can wait to get it out.
It's like imagine if you pitched this like a robot or a design for a machine where it's like it can make more of itself, but it has to make a version of itself that's this big inside it and then push it out of a hole that is.
Be so grateful you're not a woman, Alex Neil.
Okay,
I am.
the other things, okay, it's like, okay, yes, like body horror, having something grow in me. Things like ectopic pregnancy, terrifying.
So scary.
I did not sign up for this, and now all of a sudden I am literally like going to die.
Yeah, absolutely. I also just like personally don't really like kids, so it's also the after effects of pregnancy that I'm a little bit scared about.
The other, okay, then keep in mind, you could be like having, nothing goes wrong in the pregnancy. You could have a whole child in you for 9 months, nothing goes wrong. You labor through this, and then when you deliver the baby, it's a stillborn.
True.
Like, there's so
That
much.
is really that
There
is
is
traumatizing.
so much that can go wrong in pregnancy that it genuinely keeps me up at night, and that's why I don't think I'll ever get pregnant.
Fair enough. And then also consider like the amount of babies that are born prematurely or with particular conditions where they are ripped away from you immediately, put in a cot, and you don't get to like even spend any time with them for months. Imagine spending that much time with someone that close to you, literally inside of you, and it gets like ripped away and put in a cot for as many months.
I'm not gonna say it.
Dia. I was looking at Dia.
Neither of you say it.
I wasn't going to. I was disapproving of Dia.
You get what I'm saying? Like, that is also so traumatic.
It is. It was only like 100 years ago that like half of all children died at birth or in the first few
Mothers
years.
died and still died during
Yeah.
birth.
Same with mothers, yeah.
Like, I always remember learning about that guy who had that particular protein in his blood, which meant that babies and mothers who had different blood types were able to still coexist, because otherwise they'd have to terminate the pregnancies. Or the baby would die anyway because they had different blood types and it was killing them.
This is one of the reasons I'm perplexed by all the people who are like, God is great and loves everyone and is perfect all the time.
This will need to get
Science
cut
is
out.
amazing, but if God created the human body, you made some mistakes, man. Like,
Big time.
seriously.
Especially for us girly pops out here.
Shout out.
Shout out. Big shout out.
The only and the worst. Okay, this is also getting cut out. This is just me gossiping for the sake of
Spoken for so
We have like
but
3 silly
okay,
hours.
there's so many cons of pregnancy, but one of the perks is that you get really good boobs afterwards. And I think that's the only perk of pregnancy.
Just beyond birth control, it does the same thing.
Oh, life hack.
Yeah. They grow.
Actually,
didn't
I
know
think
that.
you're right. I think I have gone up a couple sizes.
Same.
Huh. Oh my god, good to know that I'm not delusional.
Yeah, so it's fine. You don't need to get pregnant. Just take birth control.
Good to know. Life
I
hack.
think you are delusional, but like
Not
because
about
of
my
that.
boobs. I know my boobs well, I guess.
Oh well, that was fun.
Thank you for joining us for Silly Hour. We will see you next week. Circling back to news that has shocked but not surprised the university community, protesting is now essentially illegal at Sydney Uni. We are going to be joined today by resident outside correspondent Luke, who has covered everything we've covered that is not to do with UNSW that we have put out. Luke, is there any hope?
Is that the question you're going to start with?
Yes. Welcome to A Current Affair, everyone.
At the moment, seemingly not, because the university has seemingly very much entrenched themselves in the position that if you do want to protest at the University of Sydney, you are going to have to jump through these extra hoops. The most contentious of which is providing at least 72 hours notice to the university before you are doing any basically any major protesting.
This is what you see with most politicians that get protested these days, is that they'll set things up in a way where they say you're allowed to protest, but only if the protest doesn't get in the way of it.
Yes, or you're allowed to protest if I agree with you. If you don't agree with me,
Or if
you're
you
not
don't
allowed to.
inconvenience me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a. Well, that is currently what the protesting rules are more widely in the general public. So, just for context, the University of Sydney, I believe, is in the City of Sydney local council area. So we'll be going off their rules. It is recommended that you apply for a permit to give to the police, but only because being the CBD, there's lots of major roads and whatever.
You only need a permit to block off roads. I've done these forms before. You have to fill out a form with the police when you're organising a protest, but you don't. The form is called a notice of public assembly. It's not to seek permission. It's to say people are going to be here.
Okay, yeah, right. So that's right.
You do need to apply if you want to like block roads or anything like that.
But if you, for example, you have seen multiple groups quite often outside town hall but Falun Gong, Christians a lot of the time, or whatever else it may be, they will just set up shop in front of town hall because it's a wide public location, and they're hoping they'll get attention. Their effectiveness does vary.
So coming off what protesters were calling intimidation tactics, basically Sydney University putting up signage around and on campus equipment saying it's now against the law based on a loophole they found, is my understanding of it, that to protest or hold encampments in the quad, they have banned protesting, which is you're not allowed to do that. But they've said it is university policy that all protests on campus will require approval if they do certain things. And they say activities that require approval include using megaphones, erecting temporary structures, which will include putting up a tent, projecting words or images onto buildings or other structures, using cooking equipment or heaters not provided by the university.
That one I find quite funny.
Can we borrow a microwave, Sydney Uni?
This university is cooked. I need a barbecue to display the metaphor.
They should do that. Attach materials, banners, and structures to the university building or fixtures. Temporary structures include booths, stalls, portable toilets, temporary enclosures, mobile structures, electronic sign. So you can hold a protest, but you can't provide porta potties to protesters. And let me explain to you how this is going to work in practice, because we have quite a bit of experience, not in the protesting field or in the encampment field, but in this field of needing permission for the university to have a go at the university. Noise, as it was created, is an act of protest. We made this publication because the other publication that this uni has at UNSW is required to get permission from the university to speak in protest about the university. And I have a lot of experience in undergoing this process of acquiring permission. So let me explain to you how this is going to work. The uni is going to receive notice of a protest and say, yes, you can. They're going to act supportive of it initially, and they're going to say, yes, we love that you want to protest and we want to facilitate that, but we're not going to give you permission unless you do X, Y, Z things. And the things that they're going to ask in return for permission are going to slowly but surely undermine the effectiveness of the protest. They might say, you can do it, but not in this location. How about you do it in another location that has less thoroughfare? Or they'll say, you can't use all of a certain space, or you can't hold the protest for the amount of time that you're planning on holding the protest for. Make a note of the fact that there is absolutely no provision on when the university should give permission to a protest and when they shouldn't. They just say you're only allowed to protest if the university allows it. When's the university going to allow it, and when's the university going to decline permission? It doesn't say, and it's left deliberately subjective so that the university can basically move the goalposts on protesters whenever they want. It's basically allowing protests while making sure no protest that ever does take place is effective. That's how these systems of you can only do it without permission works.
Yes, so to be clear, protesting, you don't need to apply for approval for all protests. You only need to acquire the 72-hour approval for the activities listed under the campus access policy, which does include the activities Alex just mentioned, being using megaphones, erecting structures, attaching materials, banners, projecting words and images onto buildings, i.e. And temporary instructions include like booths, stalls, temporary enclosures, mobile structures, that sort of thing. So basically, any effective protest, they're going to have to apply for approval for. If you and 5 friends or 500 friends, or however many you have, just want to go outside and have a bit of a shout outside of the Chancellor's office without anything, that's fine. But any sort of effective protest, or protest in which most people think of the term, you will need to apply for approval. And again, there is no mention of what protests may or may not be approved, other than yeah.
It's designed to stop larger mobilizations and does explicitly ban all the things that the Gaza encampment was doing for 50 days. I want to go back to a Sydney Morning Herald article that was published on the 2nd of May this year. The headline is, quote, "Part of who we are," end quote, "why Sydney University Vice-Chancellor allows the protest camp to stay." And it goes into an interview this reporter did with Mark Scott, the Sydney Uni Vice-Chancellor, who very much pushed for these new rules himself. And he basically says, if I can find the quote, as I said, that's part of who we are, Scott says. "Our instinct is never to preemptively shut down free speech and debate the right to protest," Mark Scott says. He says, "There was little from the US experience, where some camps had been forcibly shut down, that suggested it was a model for de-escalating tension. And now, Mark Scott has preemptively shut down the right to do the thing he was saying 2 months ago should be allowed." I love that, and if I don't laugh at it, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, it gets worse than that. In the campus access policy itself, Section 4, Statement of Intent, this policy aims to maintain a vibrant environment on university lands which, 1, is welcoming to the university community and the general public, and 2, respects academic and freedom of speech.
And notice how it doesn't define what free speech is.
No, yeah,
It leaves it totally open to interpretation for the university.
Yes, going further down, 7, principles, subsection 3. University staff and students have rights of freedom of speech and academic freedom. This includes freedom to disagree and to protest within the limits set out in this policy and the Charter.
Yeah, you're allowed to protest, but only if we allow you to protest.
Yes, which is saying something. And I have heard a quote apparently that the University of Sydney stated that it was in like with the other universities, as in the prior approval thing. I've just checked the rights of the freedom of expression at, for 1 UNSW and 2 at UTS, being the 2 closest comparisons.
Yeah.
They do not have this requirement in there.
I hope they might now.
Yeah, well, they might now. Again.
They might try, knowing UNSW, they might try and quietly change that. Although maybe there's enough public pressure on it that they won't, since the rule has been changed. Amnesty International has decried Mark Scott.
The list of people and organisations condemning this policy is quite telling. 1 is Amnesty International. 2nd, the New South Wales Council for Civil Liberties,
the Human Rights Law Centre, and the Australian Democracy Network.
Yeah, pretty much everyone is saying this is undermining the right to freedom of expression. This is illegal.
Like, you fucked up when you pissed off Amnesty International.
No, well, you have to be an African dictator to do that.
An African dictator or Mark Scott. Well done, Mark.
Yeah, and it is blatantly clear reading through the policy that this is specifically introduced after the effects of the encampment.
I don't think anyone's doubting that.
Included on this campus access policy. Incidentally, thank you to the Wayback Machine, but this policy was only uploaded. This is the first time it's been updated since 2009. The 2009 policy is about a page and a quarter long.
Wow.
The University of Sydney campus access rule, so there's stuff in there about unlawful entry, offensive conduct, but there's no mention here of protesting, as is to be expected. Yeah. So on the addition of things you need approval for, there is another list of unacceptable activities, i.e. things that you are not allowed to do.
And it's all the things that the
but there's some of the common sense stuff in here, like harassing people, intimidating
violence.
Yeah, intimidating behaviour, possessing any weapon or explosive, which is an offence in itself.
I don't think you need a campus access policy for the university to say you're not allowed to have explosives on campus. No, I think that would go in the code of conduct.
On that list of unacceptable activities are camping. So it is very much specific. And other ones, storing personal property on university lands without permission, dumping rubbish and other materials, that one is kind of understandable, but that is one of the things that the university was specifically calling out about the encampments is that they're leaving a lot of rubbish everywhere and personal property all over the place, and they don't know what to do with it. Of other massive concern is the potential breaches of this policy. Again, reading from the document, if a user does not comply with this policy, i.e. if they do, the most contentious issue, which is they don't provide 72 hours notice. Yeah, one more thing on that is that the 72-hour policy is, it's baffling to understand whereabouts. Like if they wanted to do a prior approval thing, okay, it's actually no, the whole thing's dodgy. But the part of the big thing about one university campuses, just both historically and contemporaneously, is spontaneous protest. You were seeing this during the 70s about Vietnam, about the sexual liberation movements, various places, more recently tuition fee cuts. But this 72-hour notice is basically saying you can't do that spontaneous protest if something were to come up in that period. So, for example, in the SRC coverage, which you have just heard, one of the motions was moving the SRC elections to Flexi Week. If people wanted to protest about that, if this rule was in place at UNSW, they would not have been able to do that under this policy. The news broke in Honi on the Sunday, I believe, but the vote was on the Tuesday, so they would not have had enough time before the meeting went ahead to go through the process and apply for it. Which is another point. They don't actually mention who is going to give the approval for this, what the process is, how long it's going to take.
That's the most important part of this. They leave all that very deliberately vague so that the uni can basically move the goalposts, which will happen, and when it will happen, students will have another go at the university for it. But, yeah. We'll end the segment there. Luke, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Alex.